Morgan SLV here. Hey, thanks for tuning in, guys. Once again, silver, 1909 today. Not too bad. Gold, 1238. Speaking with a couple of friends of mine, from across the U.S., and they're saying, obviously we're going to come up on a little bit of a dip, but, I'm, that's news that you can use, right? If you're going to get ready to get into the market, if you can save a buck or 50 cents or 25 cents an ounce, and if you're going to buy a couple thousand ounces, that adds up, right? So it's just kind of common sense, but it's neat to see it go up. It's I think the high was like 1950 this week. Don't quote me on that. Hey, let's go over GDP for a minute. GDP's fourth quarter earnings, I believe they said they were going to be around, don't quote me on this, like 2.2% or something like that. Then they got kind of panicked. They thought, well, maybe we're going to have to revise it to like 1.3%, but actually it was 1.6%. And that was actually, good news for the guys up on Capitol Hill. Wow, that's great news. Okay, so enough said on that. So this is what I kind of warn people when I talk to them about paying attention to their 401ks, and you know what I think about that kind of stuff, and the money that they have in the market. First of all, if you read any of Robert Kiyosaki stuff, Rich Dad used to tell him this: I'm not as concerned about the investment as I am concerned about the investor, meaning this: if you hand your money over to a broker meaning because he's probably broker than you are handing over the steering wheel to your little ship of dreams, right? Now, I can tell you this, that I used to sell investments and life insurance through a company called A.L. Williams. Did I know their product well? Yes. Did I follow their directions exclusively? Yes. Was it the best thing for the client now that I know what I know? No. I had no idea, right? So that's unfortunate that people kind of get into that trap where, well, but he said, right? He said I'd get to retire. I mean, if you look at the New York Life, the New York Life ads, I mean, they're, shows the couple in their 60s who look like they're in their 40s, retiring and watching their yacht out in the middle of the bay there, right? Okay, well, I guess that happens to a few, but not to the masses. The market rallied a little bit on news from Bernanke saying that he had more tools in his toolbox to combat the recession. So you're going to see stocks rising in currency. Once again, if you take a look at your portfolio and other things such as oil, gold, wheat, palladium, other assets, other hard assets, you're going to see that they're not doing as well. Okay, so that's why I'm very big on hard assets. Okay, I can run over, and the house that I have paid off up the street here, I can run over and knock on the door. Right, that's a hard asset. It's not blowing away. I don't think it'll ever be worth zero. It could probably get pretty close to that, right, with what's coming up. But the bottom line is people still have to have a place to live, so I think I'll still be able to make money off that. I believe that we're going to continue to see the Dow to gold ratio continue to get to that 1-to-1 ratio that Peter Schiff talks about, Robert Kiyosaki. And that doesn't necessarily mean gold has to go all the way up and meet the Dow. What it could mean is the Dow most likely is going to come down and gold's going to go up, and they're going to meet somewhere in the middle or something like that, right? But the bottom line is, it's the purchasing power that we are interested in, right? I mean, I wish my money had the purchasing power it did in 1913. The Fed's own admission is that they have sucked 96% of the purchasing power per dollar out of our currency. That's their own admission. Wow, what a track record, huh? Let's go over deflation for a few minutes. Well, let's go over one other thing. Gold and silver will rise. As far as some of the gold and silver stocks out there, they're at 52-week highs right now, pretty close to it. On the news from the Fed, So, it's neat to have YouTube. It's neat to be able to read all these different books, these different financial books and whatnot, and it gives you a little insight to what's going on. So the bottom line is this. I want to go over this thing before I go over. I'm going to go over in deflation a little bit in a second. In 2008. The Huey Index, 10 years ago, you could have bought it for about 40. Over the last 10 years, that would have been 1,000% increase in your investment. Not bad, right? In 2008, the Huey dropped about 70%, and a lot of people panicked. A lot of people were picking on Peter Schiff because they said, wow, look what happened to your clients in 2008, right? And he said, well, you know, if you'd have added to your position in late 2008 like I did, you'd actually be better off, which is what he did, and a lot of his clients did as well. And the reason is they understood the fundamentals. In other words, I remember talking to a guy who was a controller at a large investment company. When I worked at A.O. Williams, he previously worked there, and I don't think it was Morgan Stanley, but it could have been, so don't quote me on that. He said this: you'd have had just as good luck picking stocks as they did if you blindfolded yourself, stuck them all on a wall, and threw darts at it. That was his exact words to me. That's pretty scary. Peter Schiff used the decline to add to his position in gold and silver stocks, and is now better off because he studies the fundamentals. And that gets back to my other statement is, you know, I pester everybody to study. The reason I do that is because you need to know for you. You know, like I say, I have a lot of people who the only person they listen to is me, and I tell them that's an absolute mistake. What if I make a mistake? Right? When I pull into a town and I'm lost, I ask 3 people. And of course, I use my GPS a lot now, but in years past, I'd always ask 3 people, because if I got at least 2 answers the same, then I knew they probably knew what they were talking about, right? Man, don't just concentrate on one thing. Don't be lazy. Don't be lazy. It's your money. Don't be lazy. You need to study up, right? As far as deflation goes, let's examine deflation for a minute. The last depression was a deflationary depression. Okay, and so one of the things that I found that I've read is people were actually better off, the ones that were out of work, because things were cheaper. They could afford it, right? If we had let's look at a deflationary market. Okay, if you're telling me deflation is so bad, right? Let's look at a deflationary market. The camera I am using right now cost me under $400. Okay, my last digital camera was $1,200. And I bought it 6 years ago. So I don't know. Is deflation good? Did I stop buying cameras because the prices were going down? I wanted to wait till they got cheaper? No. What about food? If food prices go down, are you going to wait till they go down to eat? No. Right? So what happens is, if we let free markets work, deflation can actually work to our benefit and theirs. They get to increase their profits by increasing their volume. Right? Now, I'm a firm believer in, if you lose money on every client, you're not going to make it up in volume. So don't get me wrong on that. I'm a capitalist all the way. You know, when I detail a car, I average $400 to $500. I don't know anybody that does that. Very few people do that. And, you know, I have a lot of people tell me I'm smoking Fruit Loops. But the bottom line is this: I do a phenomenal job. And I know that I'm not going to make it up on volume. There's only one of me, right? Me and my son do that. That's one of my side businesses, and I do it when I make cash. The last car I did, I made a $1,700 deal on the last vehicle I did. So yeah, I know that sounds unbelievable, but the bottom line is this: I know that I'm not going to make it up in volume. However, when I had my shop, you know, I do $35,000 a month at my detail shop. Here's the deal. Now, I didn't take all that home. I took home like $5,000. I mean, it was, you know, that was an eye-opener as well, because I had a lot of overhead. But the bottom line is this: I had 5-6 cars going at the same time, sometimes 10 in one day. So guess what? I could afford to drop the price a little bit. I'm looking around, my labor's kind of high today. I'm going to take in one more wash and wax and make it up in volume, right? So it's a complete, you know, you got to understand, you know, there's a time and place for volume, and there's a time and place for, you know, this is the price. You know, you want this Rolex watch here, you know, this is the price. I'm not going to make it up in volume, most likely, if I'm only selling one of those. But if I could sell 10,000 of them, then I could make it up in volume. So anyway, you know, once again, my hat's off to my viewers. I know most of you guys are sharper than me, right? I'm not the sharpest crayon in the box, but I do study quite a bit. So it gives me a little bit of an edge. And I'm telling you right now, we're probably going to be coming up in a dip, right? We're probably going to be coming up in a dip. You guys might want to take a look. Right? Take a look at that. If you're going to want to add to your position, go for it. Anyway, this is Morgan SLV out. I'll talk to you soon.